I'm looking at a realistic three-dimensional view of what I just did as far as the ceilings go. And you can see that I put the ceilings in the garage and this is the garage too, and it's underneath my framing. So I'm really cutting through the framing to show where my ceilings are. And they look pretty good, but you notice I didn't put a ceiling here because I didn't have a defined space. So I want to put a ceiling in there now. So we'll go back to the first floor ceiling. And I don't know where the edges of my ceiling might be. So I know that it's going to be an edge here and here and here. I'm not quite sure where it finishes up over here. I can tell that it stops at the dashes here. So what I want to do is take a look at my section real quickly. And I know that my gypsum board is going to end at these 2 points. Location. So I'll use the reference plane, which is really nice because I can put a reference plane in here. And I'll put another reference plane over here and go back to the first floor plan just to see what we have, what I've done. Now you'll notice that I have some reference planes in here, and those are really good. So before I draw the ceiling, I'm just going to ask myself, do I have enough information to create a boundary for my ceiling underneath there? And it looks like I do, so I'm going to say architecture, ceiling. I'm going to leave it at 8 feet. Maybe I can put it where it's supposed to be. Let's see what happens. I'm going to say 10 feet because I'm not going to use the automatic ceiling. I'm going to sketch it. And normally I would sketch my ceiling to the inside face here. However, in the automatic sketch, Revit, it's putting it to the outside face of the gypsum board. So what's going on here? That's interesting. Am I doing, yep, everything looks good here. What's happening? I'm going to X out of that. So I don't know what's going on. That's not what I was expecting. I'm going to say ceiling, gypsum board, the first floor 10 feet above. I'm going to sketch it. And so let's see. That's what I was expecting to see, was just some magenta lines, but there was something else in there, and that was confusing me. So I've done something. Now using my reference plane that I put in there, I know exactly where my gypsum board should go to. I'll come across to this stairs here and back over to the stairs here, here, face of the gypsum board, and then straight across and close it, meaning go back to the origin. So I believe that I've closed that now. And let's say okay and see what happens. When we go back to this section, I'm looking to see where my gypsum board is, and look where it is. It's right there. Now I can see that I need the gypsum board to go a little bit farther. It's going beyond that. So what am I going to do? Absolutely correct. I'm going to put in another reference plane right here and go back to my first floor. I see, I'm looking for that reference plane. I should be able to see it here. And I can't, so back to that section. There's my reference plane. Whoops. Let's use the tab key. Pick that reference plane. It's high enough. I should be able to see that reference plane in my first floor ceiling plane. And I cannot. So I know I want it to come farther across here. I really wanted to see that reference plane. So let's go back to the section. So I can't see the reference plane in the floor plan of my ceiling plan. So let's take a look at what's happening here. If we look at the view range, I'm cutting through at 4 feet above the first floor level. So we'll say okay to that. And if I go back to that section again and take a look at it, where is the end of this line? Let's just measure from the end of this line down to here. And look at that, it's 8 feet. So my reference plane doesn't penetrate my cut plane. My cut plane is down here, but my reference plane stops up there. And that's the reason I couldn't see it. So if I click on it and drag it down farther, then it will be penetrating through the cut plane. So if we go back now to the first floor plan, look at that. We can actually see it because I've pulled the bottom of that reference plane down below the cut plane. So I'm going to go back here, back to my view. I'll click on my gypsum board and I'm going to say edit the boundary. And Revit says, well, you can't edit a boundary in a section view. Where do you want me to show you that? And I could say, let's go to the reflected ceiling plan, first floor. Okay. And now I can see that I need to modify my boundary or border and say, okay. And now let's go back to that section and see what happens. Now, look at that. My gypsum board goes exactly to where I want it to go. And I've successfully placed all of the gypsum board on the walls and on the ceiling where I want them to be on the first floor.